So there were 3 graduate students at the University of Mexico who studied water quality in the Sea of Cortez. So if you can imagine, if you're looking at a map of Mexico and the Baja Peninsula, comes down below California right there, that area of the ocean is called the Sea of Cortez. So it's sort of the, that coastline of Baja and then coastline of the mainland. And it's so crazy, everything flows downstream, right? Whatever that concept is, because when the U.S. built the Hoover Dam and dammed up the Colorado River, eventually that river falls into the Sea of Cortez. So all that silt that's built up, the changes in water temperature that happen, based on the depth of water, when water is more shallow, it heats up faster, you can imagine. Basically, the Hoover Dam devastated the Sea of Cortez. Wiped out. So I've talked, their oyster population. So I've talked about oysters are great for water quality, and they also cannot thrive in poor water quality, right? So that's basically what happened with the construction of the Hoover Dam. That water silt, it just basically that water came down that Colorado and spilled into the Sea of Cortez and just buried the oyster population, and really changed the pH of the water, changed the temperature, all of that, right? So these 3 graduate students were studying water quality and oysters. And the cool thing about pearl farms is that by encouraging an oyster population, you can totally transform the water quality. And at the same time, you have to have good water quality in order to grow oysters. So it kind of it's interesting, it kind of goes both ways. So these gentlemen wanted to improve the water quality in the Sea of Cortez and saw that pearl culturing could fund basically the repopulation of oysters in that area. So it basically the long arc of this is these graduate students started a pearl farm in the Sea of Cortez. It is currently the only pearl farm in North America. Now, as I say that, I want to correct myself because I have read off the coast of Canada, there's a pearl farm. I'm not too familiar with it. So, I may stand corrected, but the only pearl farm that I'm currently aware of at this point is the Sea of Cortez Pearl Farm. And the pearls there are fabulous. They come from and I don't think I have a shell, but it's a similar species as this black-lipped oyster, but it's got more of a rainbow, so it's called a rainbow-lipped oyster. So the colors of the pearls, in fact, actually, I'm wearing a Sea of Cortez ring. I don't know if you can see that pearl. It's really, they'll be bluish, pinkish. The way the pearls kind of reflect the light, kind of give it this more rainbow iridescence. So they're really, really fabulous pearls. So I took our whole group again. We had some more people sign up, and we went down to the Sea of Cortez. And the best part about this, and I'm not going to tell you the year that we went down to the Sea of Cortez, what they do at the Pearl Farm there is sometimes they'll have VIPs come down to their first harvest of the year. So where they pull up the oysters and you open the oysters, and it was very, very hands-on. We got to witness and we got to participate, the actual harvesting of these pearls. So they were having these dignitaries come to the first pearl harvest, but we actually were there the week before. So we were actually the ones who were there at the first pearl harvest, but we weren't allowed to tell anybody. So they're like, do not ever tell anyone what date you came down to this pearl farm, because y'all are really the first pearl harvest of the year, but we can't let these VIPs in our government know that the Pearl Girls trumped their harvest, kind of thing. So that was an incredibly amazing experience, to go down and harvest pearls on the Sea of Cortez.